Welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're back with another episode in our off-season draft series as we're edging closer to the start of the NFL season. This will be our last off-season draft, I think, of the summer. And we're going to be talking through the greatest movie sequels of all time. And we've got ourselves a very special guest, somebody who's going to keep us along the right track. For this, we're joined by Ash Ward from the X-Rental podcast. Ash, thanks for joining us. How are you doing? And welcome to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover.
Thanks for having me. I do not need any excuse to talk bullshit about films. I welcome the opportunity because my wife is sick to death of it, as is also my podcast host, which is why we split it into seasons.
Excellent. Well, we're glad to give you an outlet to do so. And you're certainly doing us a big favour, helping us along. And I'm sure you will talk some sense into the films that we're picking. And hopefully we do the subject justice between the three of us. With no doubt you will. But hopefully myself, Byron and Joe do the subject justice. You mentioned there, obviously, your podcast X-Rental that we've flagged there. So it's that can be followed on Twitter at XRentalYT. Along with yourself at Ash Digs Films. Tell us about X-Rental, Ash. Give us a kind of bit of background about it and where we can kind of catch it.
Yeah, sure thing. So X-Rental really came from, again, that real desire to have some kind of outlet for me to just spill the nonsense that forms in my mind. But the main thing is it, you know, as you're aware, you've got to kind of find your niche where there's a billion and one podcasts. And our one, we kind of just... I came up with the idea, and then my co-host Brad, who's a friend of mine going way back, we kind of mutually agreed on what we feel is the best period of cinema, which was the 90s. But we didn't just want to be a 90s podcast because, again, there's probably at least 3,001 of those. So what we really wanted to focus on was the video shop experience, which we kind of feel, not to be old man yells at cloud, but we feel like younger generations are missing out on what was such a formative part of youth. Only having like £3 pocket money and being like, right, so that's 30p on a can of Coke, 60p on a packet of popcorn, and then the rest we can probably get 2 films for that. And it was just that process of walking through a video shop, and you can't quickly get your phone out and check Google to see whether something's good or not. So your frame of reference was basically that poster, that artwork looks fucking gnarly, so let's watch that. And 90 times out of 10, that was a terrible idea. It was a bad film, and they knew it, so they got great artists to do the artwork because they knew mugs like me would hand over my £1.20. But it was great because it was a time where you'd handed over money, so films weren't so disposable. You felt obliged to finish it and maybe watch it 3 or 4 more times on top of that because, I don't know about you guys, or I grew up poor, so it was like pocket money had to be spent wisely, and nothing was more wise than Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So you had to really funnel those funds really well, and it's all just come from that. It's just all come from Brad and I's just sheer obsession with cinema. And then now, so what we do is we kind of every week we cover a different film. We'll sometimes have guests. They'll come on and tell us about their video shop experiences growing up, and then we'll focus on one specific film from the 90s that we've decided to kind of cover. So, for example, we have had Bad Boys, which was with Vincent Jerome, who you may know from Waterloo Road. We've had Stevie Webb, who you may know from The Inbetweeners, but probably not. He was the disabled guy in The Inbetweeners who tried to beat up Will. He's now he does a lot of theatrical work, so he's currently doing like a Dolly Parton musical, and he's just finished doing the Book of Mormon for like the last 3 years. I think he came on and he covered the film Phantoms, which is an absolute terrible, it's an awful film, but it's great talking to people about these films because they connected in such a different way. It wasn't a case of, I've watched this, so on to the next one because I've got an entire library at my hands. It was a case of, that you recorded something off of, in my case, I got my mate to record something off of Sky Movies, and I would wear the tape thin. Especially if it was Wild Things. So yeah, it's just, we just love films and like to talk about them and try not to stress people out too much.
Yeah.
I also ramble a lot. Sorry.
No, it's a great concept. It's a great concept for certainly for and you talk about the kind of it coming from that kind of video shop experience. I remember like Friday night after school, kind of being able to kind of go to the independent one, but Blockbuster or whatever it was, and go picking out your movie. It is a great experience. And like, so you're right. It's a shame that that's no longer the case anymore, and that because things are so accessible, maybe they don't hold the same value as they once did. But yeah, love that. So make sure everyone go give Ash and go follow the X Rental podcast. And yeah, follow along. Where's it available, Ash? So you got the link. So that's the Twitter account. Is it available on YouTube and anywhere else?
Now this is where it gets really, really annoying. It was originally actually supposed to be an exclusively YouTube video podcast where we were going to they were going to be recorded. There was going to be clips of the film and stuff like that. No sound, but it was all just it also, the idea was born out of the idea of me maintaining my editing skills, because I really enjoy editing. I think it's kind of like creating music. It's finding beats and editing it through that way. And then YouTube basically shut down every goddamn video that I put up there because I had the audacity to put 0.3 seconds of a goddamn Studio Canal film in there. So we pivoted to podcasts from there, so you can hear it on Spotify, you can hear it on basically everywhere. I try and put it everywhere. I did the doodah to put it on Google and internet. Just I said I put my seed there and tell them to spread it for me. But I'm very curious to hear from anyone if their local video shop was also a spa, because that's come up quite a lot.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no.
Yeah, we used to have that. It wasn't always one. My local was a Global Video. I don't know if that's a nationwide chain, Global Video.
Yeah, no, Global Video. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I was like secondary, because Blockbuster was all the way across town, and like Ash group, I also grew up here, so like going all the way across town and getting your mum to commit to doing such a thing was like, it's a big task on a Friday night. Whereas Global was pretty close, but Spa was even closer, but it didn't have a full range, so.
That'd be like 14 videos usually, like 14 videos, and you pick from that one. That's how I've seen the film Ski School like 67 times.
I've never heard of Ski School. I hope there's a sequel.
Not many people have.
Ski School 2 back in the slopes. But yeah, I wouldn't thought of the spa being a video thing until you said it. But yeah, that actually immediately evokes memories of it. That is very weird.
Great shout out video. Yeah, no, I don't remember in Manchester, but yeah, we definitely had a Global Video that was on that used to go to a mailman. Anyway, we're going to do the greatest movie sequels. I suppose before we get into doing the draft, Ash, what in your mind makes a great sequel?
I am a firm believer that it just needs to take what worked for the first film, and it doesn't necessarily have to improve on it. Some of my favorite sequels aren't as good as the original, but they just connect with me in different ways. I think it's just about taking what works and then start peppering in a few more ingredients. I really don't like, rinse repeat sequels. There's an absolute ton of those in the 90s, to the point where I've been trying to bend Brad's arm to say, can we just do all the films in one episode rather than be able to just talk about the same thing again? But I think a really, really good sequel, it doesn't need to pander. It just needs to. You can tell I've been watching The Bear because I'm going to be using a lot of food metaphors. It just needs to take the ingredient. It needs to take the base recipe and keep pushing it forward. I'm not big on like the Marvel stuff because it just seems like hard work now. There's a lot of it, and there's a formula, and there's only so many Big Macs you can consume, kind of thing. That was a bear one as well. Probably not.
Yeah, sure.
But I'll tell you what, I do have a question for you guys before we go into this one. What is a sequel that you absolutely hate?
Oh, that's a good question.
I can offer up mine as a prompt. It's not the worst sequel ever made. It's not the worst film ever made, but I really, really loathe Dumb and Dumber 2.
Oh, that is awful. That is a great shout.
Yeah. The first film is one of my all-time favorite films. That is a real video shop. I wore the shit out of that tape.
Yeah.
And whilst they're idiots in the film, and they're clueless and they're a bit thoughtless, they're never really mean-spirited. and the second film turned them into arseholes, and it just was just a little bit. No, it was gross. It turned these people that I liked into dickheads, and it crossed the line.
I've only seen the sequel once, and like you, Dumb and Dumber is my favorite comedy of all time. Like I don't know how many times I've seen Dumb and Dumber, 50, like a shit ton, too many probably. I've seen this sequel once. It was dog shit. Like that is a great. I couldn't think of a bad one because I've spent so much time trying to find sequels that I've seen that I enjoyed. So you really just with your question, truthfully. But that is an absolutely perfect shout. Yeah, that would be my answer as well.
I went to see that in Barcelona, of all places, when I went to go and see our mutual friend David Cartledge from Punktastic. And we had to do that on the first night, which it was all uphill from there.
All the things to do in Barcelona. Dumb and Dumber.
Spain got it 3 weeks before the UK, so I was like, yeah, let's go.
Incredible.
And I'll shout one again, and this was another one going to watch it and was so disappointing. And again, hopefully this doesn't go on. This isn't on anybody's list. Blues Brothers 2000.
Oh no, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
That's a great shout.
That
Jesus,
was truly awful. Yeah, it's such a shame because obviously the original's classic, and
I think it's an ongoing theme with when there's a really big gap between sequels for comedies. I can't think of many that work. I mean, we've already said Dumb and Dumber 2, Blues Brothers 2000, Coming to America 2, Zoolander 2, Anchorman 2, I would say as well. They don't really work when there's a huge gap. They kind of seem to lose momentum. Whereas you got Wayne's World 1 and 2, and they were like within 10 months of each other.
Yeah, cool. Joe, any shouts from you? Worst sequel before we start doing the good ones?
Let's say Home Alone 3. What a disappointment. First thing that popped into my head.
I don't think I've seen it.
There you go. Because 1 and 2 so good, and then they just completely go off it. So that's the only one I could think of straight away. That's probably my, probably sound like Byron here, knowledge on films or whatnot. But yeah, I can't really think of any of us. Probably some will pop into my head later on, but that's the first one.
Yeah, there'll be some terrible ones.
Maybe Home Alone 2 is the exception to the rule.
Yes, definitely. I think, but we may hear more about Home Alone 2 shortly. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Cool. Right, are we ready to roll? My screen is completely frozen. I do apologize.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Excellent. Ash, you're on the clock. You're going to be taking the first movie. So the honor and the privilege is yours. Which film are you taking as the greatest movie sequel of all time?
So I'm going to pivot, I think, just because I am going to, I'm just going to look out for Byron on this one, and I'm not going to take the obvious picks. I think the obvious picks are going to come up, so I'm just going to be a stupid little hipster, kind of, because my first pick, I'm going to pick How to Train Your Dragon 2. Ooh. Because no film has made me cry more in my entire life. I went to go and see it on opening day at the IMAX in London, thinking this will be fine. All the kids are at school. I won't look like a weird nonce. The first film was amazing. And what I didn't realize, because I didn't have a child at the time, was that it was half term. So I was sat in an absolutely ram-packed IMAX, childless, between basically families in central London. And I cried about 4 times, like real shoulder chuckling levels of tears. And do you know what? Don't regret a second of it. I just adore it. It's a very, where I was saying what works for films, you take what works and you start to add in more ingredients, kind of, you build upon it. And I think the second How to Train Your Dragon film really kind of cements its mythology. And also I've got this thing, right, and especially now that I've got a kid, my kid's 4, I really don't like children's films that talk down to children. Like, I hate Despicable Me and Minions, the stuff where they're like, do a banana dick joke, and that will cover them, that'll be fine. I like them to actually, I feel like it's, children are sponges, so they can learn a lot of life lessons from films. And I think the How to Train Your Dragon series is very, very good at teaching levels of empathy. But even if I, I could go down the film studies route and start waxing lyrical about all of the clever bits of it, but ultimately it just made me really proud of a CGI dragon, and I didn't really have that on the card when I saw it.
Yeah, when you paid your money to go watch that, I guess that wasn't, it wasn't up for grabs. But an interesting selection. It's not one that I thought would go first, but I thought it might go a bit later on. So I think we're in the right ballpark, and especially you mentioned that you're leaving the heavy hitters for us. That's nice of you. But yeah, interesting pick. I've seen this film. It's a very good film as well. To be fair, I think the series as a whole is a very good series. Again, it does branch the yes, it's a kids film, but it does branch the fact actually anybody can enjoy it, adults can enjoy it as well. So yeah, I think a surprising one, but I think a decent shout. Byron,
I'm a big softie, that's why.
That's nice as well. Byron, have you ever seen any of the How to Train Your Dragon? If I can speak, How to Train Your Dragon series?
No, but I loved how passionate you were, Ash. That was a really nice story.
I can't help it.
Yeah, I can't speak to the film itself. Sorry.
But we'll just assume that's the case for all of them, Byron, so we won't come to you for reaction. Joe, How to Train Your Dragon 2 going first. Surprised, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a surprise that, obviously Ash been really nice and letting Byron off the hook of his knowledge. But no, I've actually seen the second one, so obviously I can't give too much detail as well. I've seen the first one, but, obviously I'll add it to the list of films I need to watch, which will be probably quite a few after this draft. So after the emotional ride, which Ash went through there, put it on the list.
I don't expect everyone to have the same reaction as me.
Yeah, no,
I expected.
You've been nice to us, actually. All our other guests aren't usually this nice, so that's cool. Don't worry about it. But we appreciate it. It's going to make
it's fresh in my mind as well because the director, the guy who one of the directors of the series, he's got a new film coming out in the summer called The Wild Robot. And I'm actually reading it with my son at the moment. And even that one, the trailer came on in the cinema and I started to well up. I was like, oh, geez, maybe I should just go and see this. I'll go see this on my own.
Well, it's it's full summer break, so getting your normal spot with all the families again.
No, yeah, exactly. I might as well in for a penny, in for a pound and all that. Look.
Yeah, leave the kid at home. Like, no, sorry, this isn't for you, son. This is just a daddy experience.
Yeah. Find my real Nancy shirt.
Cool, right.
And out a pack of blue ribbons, and you'll be good.
Yeah, there you go.
I think blue ribbon might be a bit. If a chocolate is a nonce, I think blue ribbon might be up there actually.
For context, we were just talking about Ash's stash of blue ribbons that he got after a visit up north this last week for context. But How to Train Your Dragon, number one overall. Awesome. Byron, Ash has done you a favour. Very nice of him. So what are you going to take with the number two overall pick in the greatest sequels draft?
Yeah, again, a little context. I'm not a big film watcher, so this is a struggle of a draft for me. Greg's last week was much easier.
Greg's was a lot easier for you, yeah.
Yeah. But I think, greatest is an interesting term, but I think this is a real, genuinely great film. Well regarded. I don't know if it won Oscars. That's not really my knowledge base. But The Godfather Part 2, it's one of the few big series that I've seen and really loved, truthfully. Well, the first two especially were really, really good. And kind of what Ash mentioned about like taking the original and just like going with it. I think The Godfather Part 2 does really well. I did kind of worry because it kind of splices older and newer life, but it's not a prequel. It's a sequel that has founding moments, I'm going to call it. But yeah, I just found, again, it's a great series. It's, a film that I've seen that is, genuinely important and good. And yeah, that's why I've went with The Godfather Part 2.
Yeah, if it would have been mine, my first pick for sure. So I think this is one of the ones where I think there's maybe 3 or 4 that if that film went first, that'd have been like, yeah, that fits. And this is one of them, I think. Godfather Part 2. So yeah, as you mentioned, it's sequel part origin story sort of. With Pacino and De Niro. So yeah, with Pacino as Michael Corleone. settling into that role as the head of the family, and then Vito Corleone's story through De Niro. I think it's fantastic. It's one of my all-time favorite films. It's fantastic. Ash, thoughts on The Godfather Part 2?
Needs a few more dragons, to be fair.
Not much training.
No, it actually, it took me a long while to warm up to the Godfather saga, just because I just had this dumb thing when I was growing up. I was like, gangster films, I'm not really into it. And then there was just like a big turning point, and I still don't like some of the big hitters like Scarface, but Goodfellas was probably the one where I was like, no, hang on a minute, the brain's catching up now with this. And so I kept putting off The Godfather because there was this expectation like, well, shit, if you don't like this, you're just going to have to spend a lifetime having to justify that to people. Luckily, 1 and 2 they're phenomenal. They're absolutely phenomenal. I agree with you. I think the second one is the best one. That's purely just by the first one just taking a little bit to warm up.
Yeah,
it doesn't really. It takes its time setting out its stall, whereas I find Godfather Part 2 it propels itself quite a lot more.
Yeah, I think like the obviously the two key plots of the films from the characters Vito and Michael, and how they you see the journey that Vito went on to start that kind of involvement in crime all the way to obviously his demise at the end of the first one, but then kind of how Michael becomes this ruthless leader throughout the film, and kind of his descent ultimately to the ending, which won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it all kind of builds up to the ending in part 2. So it's just an incredible film, and a worthy first round pick in the greatest movie sequels draft. Joe, any thoughts on The Godfather?
Yeah, it's the one I thought would go first, to be honest. It's it feels like a bit cliche to be, the greatest films, and it's always, I feel like there's pushback more on it now because everyone loves it, so everyone just loves the take to not like it. But it is just a class film, and I'm agreeing that I think the second one's a better film. But they're both incredible filmmaking, and great sequel. It's like we mentioned at the intro, you don't get many where the sequel is better than the first, but this could be certainly one of the few which you can argue about.
I think there's a reason it's a cliche. Like, there's a reason why people go to it, is because it's fucking amazing from top to bottom. It's unbelievable performances, unbelievably directed, incredibly written. I don't know if you've ever read the Godfather books. They're not great. So it's like a real elevation of the material as well. And it's kind of like Francis Ford Coppola's done this thing where he's basically bet the house on his new film, where he's sold his vineyard and all sorts because he's got this one vision. And I want it to succeed because he gave us. It doesn't matter that the last good film was Bram Stoker's Dracula in '92. It doesn't matter. I just want him to succeed because of what he's given us previously.
Yeah.
Stuff, and I think this is great. I think it was 6. I don't know, we'll find, but I think 6 Oscars. I'm trying to do research on the fly. 6 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Robert De Niro as Vito. But it's a fantastic film, a worthy number 2 overall, and definitely belonged in the first round. Joe, tough act to follow. How to Train Your Dragon 2, The Godfather Part 2. What are you taking at number 3?
Yeah, there's a lot to choose from, and it's just trying to figure out which is. I'm going to go the one which I think I probably enjoy the most, and it's already been mentioned, but I'm going to, stick to stereotype and go for the obvious. I'm going to go Terminator 2: Judgment Day as my pick as number 3. As again, I think it's the second one is better than the first one, even though I've rewatched the first one in the last few years and enjoy. I was surprised how much I enjoyed the first one. But we talk about the second one here. I just think it's an amazing film. Bringing new characters in, Arnie becoming the good guy, and fighting what you think is an unstoppable force with not just a machine one can melt and do all sorts. So it's it's a great sequel, and chucking it up there as the third choice.
Yeah, again, fully expecting these two to go, and they have done. Yeah, Ash, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Thoughts on it? You a fan of it?
Oh yeah, I mean, you can't be anyone of our age and not like it's. I mean, like I think Terminator 1 is the better film if I'm going head over heart. I think it sets out what it does, what it sets out to do. I think it accomplishes in a much better way, because the first one is basically a slasher film. It's probably got more in common with Friday the 13th than it does with Blade Runner. And I think it accomplishes that in ways that where Terminator 2 falls over itself a little bit. However, I saw Terminator 2 on a pirate video when I was like 9 or 10, and it was just like formative. I wouldn't listen to the music I listened to without Terminator 2, because You Could Be Mine by Guns N' Roses was like, hang on, you can do that? That's okay. And I still love the song to this day. I still think it's an absolute great song. Despite not really liking Guns N' Roses that much anymore. It's so deeply ingrained in my psyche that even though as I get older and with more viewings, I start to see some flaws, it's very much not a case of like, maybe I don't like it as much. It's like, fuck the flaws. This is awesome.
It's such a fantastic film. Again, this was another one right on top of that list, Joe. Where again, if this was there, if it had skipped past you, it wouldn't have skipped past me. Next, it's a fantastic film. The two together, I don't know if I could split them. I think they're both exceptionally good films. It certainly tails off after 3.
There was a 3. I thought it was a shame they stopped making them after 2.
How many is there?
2.
A lot, right? Yeah, you're right. We'll just stick with 2. Yeah.
Yeah, sadly, far too many. But yeah, the first 2 just perfect. But I think it was one of those things. I think when was Terminator 3 is maybe like late 2008, 2009.
No, it's 2. No, Terminator 3 was 2003 because I was at university.
Cool.
I remember it took me 4.5 hours to download the QuickTime trailer for it on my Halls dial-up.
It was just maybe that time where there's like a clamoring for like these early 90s things to start. Yeah, and yeah,
that's a film where I don't think I've ever been so deflated as going to the cinema and being like all in. And then it gets to the part where he steps out of the bar and he puts on like those sunglasses in a star shape, mimicking part 2. And my heart just sank. I was like, oh shit, this is not good. This is not a good start.
Yeah. But for Joe's pick, let's give it some love. It is, tremendous.
Oh no, I meant Terminator 3, sorry.
3, yes. Sorry, yeah. Wolfen 2. Yeah, excellent. Excellent.
Do you want a quick fact about Terminator 2?
Go for it, yeah.
Robert Patrick was not first choice to be the T-1000. Do you know who was cast and only pulled out because he was in an accident and broke his leg?
Bruce Willis.
Billy Idol.
What? Yeah, that's a if that's Billy Idol in that film.
Imagine that turning up to a white wedding.
Yeah. I know. Just him, like no Guns N' Roses, would just be Rebel Yell over everything, which I'm fine with, to be honest. But I mean, the fact that Robert Patrick like taught himself how not to blink and how not to breathe whilst running and stuff like that, the guy was a monster. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, certainly would be a very different film with Billy Idol in it. Maybe it wouldn't be held in such high regard because Robert Patrick's excellent in it.
My guess of Bruce Willis wasn't quite right then.
No.
Little.
Yeah, excellent. Right, to me then, isn't it? Oof. Rounding off the first round. So I think I mentioned at the start or earlier on, there's probably 4 films that I'd be kind of like, if that went number 1, that kind of makes sense. And I've got both of them, so I guess I'll take both of them as I go end the first and start the second. It's just which order, which is very important. I will take probably what I assume, I don't know, it might not be, but might be our only delve into Star Wars, and I'll take Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. It's my favourite of the original 3, I guess, of that, 4, 5, and 6. Empire Strikes Back, love it. It's an absolutely fantastic film. Let's say I think the best of the three. Certainly builds on the first one, builds on A New Hope, and sets things up, I guess, for Return of the Jedi. But yeah, Empire Strikes Back for me. I should put it on the screen, shouldn't I, like I've done with everybody else's. Thoughts on Empire Strikes Back? Any of you particularly massive Star Wars fans?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, the prequels are what they are. There's really great elements, and then there's loads of stuff that doesn't really work, and then there's Attack of the Clones, which I just absolutely loathe with all my heart. And then the sequel trilogy, again, same thing. Really good moments, some not so good moments. I think Rogue One, personally, I actually nearly drafted Rogue One because I just think it's an absolutely brilliant film. It does what Star Wars does best. But yeah, the original trilogy, I mean, that was great in the 90s when they re-released them back into the cinema. Yeah, it had the special edition stuff, but you know, when you were our age, you didn't get to see it at the cinema. So it was amazing to see it all. And yeah, I mean, there's a reason why that series is as wildly successful as it is. It cribbed from all of the best stuff, the Kurosawa and all that lot, and it gave it that very Western spin. And you know, good versus evil. You can't go wrong with good versus evil.
Simple storytelling, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. It's my favorite of those. My favorite of all. I've stopped with a lot of the newer ones. I just got a feeling like you can't recapture the magic as much as Disney will try.
Well, it's the Marvelification. It's becoming homework as opposed to enjoyment.
Yeah. There's so many there's so many series now, and I'm sure some of those are really, really good. And I bet I'd enjoy loads of them. But yeah, to your point, it's becoming home. It just feels like a big effort now. Whereas these three, so simple yet have so much range to the films, and yeah, this one is my absolute favorite. It's just got loads of the great Star Wars moments, I think, in it as well, which probably, you know, the best thing, whether it's Han Solo being frozen in the carbonite or Luke losing his hand. Again, no spoilers. People might not have seen this.
Their time's passed, man. We don't know, and absolutely not. As someone who's very spoiler averse, fuck those guys. Yeah. It's been 44 years.
That's fair. But yeah, there's just some of those like big moments from the series and that remembered are in this film. So yeah, that's why it's my favorite. Cool. Any more thoughts on The Empire Strikes Back before we move on?
I like when Homer spoils the Empire Strikes Back in The Simpsons. That's a classic moment.
I think The Simpsons can be referred to for pretty much anything in film now, because there's any kind of classic film, The Simpsons have done some kind of spin on it, and often with our age, we saw it in The Simpsons first as well.
Yes, yeah,
definitely,
that's for sure. Let's move on to round two. It's me again, but just to sum up round one, Ash went with How to Train Your Dragon 2, Byron The Godfather Part 2, Terminator 2 Judgment Day for Joe, and then I went with The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 5. I think it's a pretty solid first round. Ash, how are we doing? Are we doing the movies? Are we doing the movie sequels justice so far?
Oh, absolutely. There's been no absolutely wild takes yet. Well, mine aside, there's been absolutely no wild takes yet.
You're allowed,
yeah.
Yeah.
When you're discussing movie sequels, there's like 5. I'm assuming I think I know what your next one's going to be, Paul, because it's like it rounds out that like the heavy hitters, and is on my list, but I left it from the first round. I was like, no, I'm going to leave that. But yeah, there's a reason why. There's a reason why they go first.
Yeah. Well, we'll see then. Let's see if you've been able to read my mind. We'll see. I'm going to go with, for number 5 to kick off the second round, I'm going to go with the Christopher Nolan Batman series, and I'm going to go with The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight. I think it's the best of those 3 of that run. I think that's all right, isn't it? To kind of put them as like separate things. The Keatons, the ones, yeah. So that's fine. Yeah, I'm going to take The Dark Knight. I think it's the best of those 3. Although I'm a fan of all 3, I'm not a big comic book film guy at all. Those old Batman films, to an extent, pretty good. But these three, I think all three are great films. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises, isn't it? The three. But yeah, I think this one's is fantastic. And I think a huge part of that is because of how good Heath Ledger is as the Joker in The Dark Knight. Fully committed to the part. Obviously, sadly wasn't around much longer after The Dark Knight came out. But yeah, just what a fantastic film. And I think we'd seen probably from the early 2000s the run of comic book films come again, and it's just never gone away. We're here 20 odd years later, and they still keep coming out. But I think these three stand up against any of them, and this one in particular, I think, is the best of the lot. The Dark Knight. Great cast as well. Christian Bale, Kane, Freeman, Ledger. It's fantastic. What are your thoughts? Dark Knight being the fifth overall pick. I guess that wasn't the one you was thinking of. Ash,
it was
your
not.
reaction.
No, it was not. But only because I'd forgotten. I'd forgotten about it because this part will probably where you'll probably start getting all the hate mail. I'm not a massive fan of The Dark Knight, but only that's not fair. I am a really big fan of The Dark Knight up to a point, and I think if the film ends with Harvey Dent in hospital, it is a near perfect film. It's just it carries on after that. And I think that's a habit that Christopher Nolan has with a lot of his films is sometimes his editing, he doesn't have enough people telling him no. But I can see why it is considered the kind of behemoth sequel that it is, because for the most part, it is absolutely justified.
Yeah, excellent. Byron, this must be Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I just have this very firm thing where... like to kind of contextualize my own thoughts on it and why I kind of step away and go, oh no, but I might be wrong. Is because I hate the term overrated more than anything in the whole world, because it comes across as really arrogant to me, because you're like, oh wait, so your opinion's the definitive opinion. I'm a firm believer of, if something is wildly loved and critically acclaimed, so that cuts out Coldplay and the like, and you don't like it, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like everything. Sometimes it's fine just to say, you know what, that didn't work for me. That's fine. I can just walk away. That's all right. I hate that term overrated so much. It's just because it's Dark Knight.
There we go. Byron, you must have seen this one. This must be one on your list that you are ridiculous, right? Just pass Byron. Joe,
I've seen one Batman film ever.
You've seen one? Which Batman film?
The one where Jim Carrey plays a Riddler. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say the Adam West one. Like really throw a curveball.
The TV show back in the day, right? He'd done the TV show.
Yeah.
I used to be on Channel 4. I used to enjoy watching that, actually. And then I seen the one where Jim Carrey's a Riddler. That was really fun, actually. But I've never seen another one since.
The Val Kilmer one, isn't it? Batman Forever.
I only really
the Adam West
Jim
one
Carrey.
used to be on. The Adam West one used to be on After Football Italia. That's probably why you ended up watching it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
What a show.
Yeah. Joe, thoughts on The Dark Knight? I think it's quite good value, the first pick, the second round.
Yeah, definitely.
My pick.
Yeah, I think I was going to pick it next. I agree. It's definitely the best out of the three. And I think it's just the performance. It would have been interesting to see what they would have done with the Joker in the third film. Obviously, if Heath Ledger sadly didn't pass, that would have been interesting. But yeah, his performance is incredible, and it holds up. It's the best film. I'll probably do with the best Batman trilogy. Probably people might argue about that. So great choice.
I think probably why this is more speaks to the trilogy as a whole, the trilogy as a whole, than just this film. I think it's just cast really, really well. As well, I think Bale does a great job. Michael Caine as Alfred is class. Brilliant. Heath Ledger talked about, but even like Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon, Freeman as Lucius Fox. I think it's just cast really, really well. I think they kind of nail those characters with the castings as well. So yeah,
it does have a football element too, right? So it's got a bit of crossover for the podcast.
That's part 3.
That's the next
one. Dark Knight Rises. Yeah.
Good effort though, Byron. Good effort.
I had one little bit of knowledge about it, and it's not even.
You nearly clicked the synergy then.
So close.
I always thought it'd have been interesting if Gary Oldman's performance, if he did Commissioner Gordon more like his performance in Slow Horses, which if anyone hasn't seen it on Apple TV, that would have been really great.
Yeah,
him calling Batman a soppy prick and stuff like that would have been pretty fantastic.
that could have worked, definitely. Yeah.
Where do you land on the new one? Because I think that's kind of taking from the best of both worlds. I think it takes from the Keaton films and the Nolan trilogy really well. I'm really interested to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I think it is open up, and I think that again they've lined up. Is it Barry Keogh who's going to be playing the Joker?
Yeah, I think they said they're not really going to make him front and center, and I think again, and that's a testament to Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger is going to cast a shadow over that role forever, because here's a guy where everyone, I remember when he was cast, because it was the early days of movie internet forums and stuff like that, and everyone was like, "What the douchebag from 10 Things I Hate About You?" There was such a backlash about it all. And then like, the gay cowboy, because everyone was in the early 2000s, everyone was of course very edgy, and it. For him to not only get over that backlash, but to arguably be the definitive Joker. Even like for example, you go back to Star Wars, Mark Hamill's portrayal of the Batman has always been fantastic in the animated series and in the Batman games. The fact that there's been all these great performances of the Joker, but everyone immediately goes to Ledger. I think they're probably smart in saying with Barry Keoghan, they're going to treat him as like an agent of chaos working in the background, as opposed to saying, "Here's the second film. We're going to put it straight there," because Ledger just looms large. Yeah. Oh, that was surprised I was able to say that.
Ledger looms large. Yeah, no, that's good. But yeah, I'd be interested how they go. I think there's probably maybe some actual excitement about it around actually that what that could be and how this last one's been with Robert Pattinson. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's been the Affleck ones were a struggle. And then, but we'll see how they go moving forward. The Dark Knight for me. Joe, you've got to pick number 6. Your second to add to Terminator 2.
Yeah, again, it wasn't what I thought you may have gone for, but so I wanted that one because I don't want to go for the obvious one, I don't think. So I'm going to choose this for certain reasons. Sentimental. Also, it's my partner's favourite film, so she'll not be happy if I don't take this. And it is a fun film. I'm going to go Back to the Future Part 2 in this second round. Again, another classic trilogy, which, I would say everyone is, you can say about Part 3, but I love Part 3 as well. And I think it's a great film franchise. And I believe that the Part 2 is the best one. I think it's close to the first one, but yeah, I love Part 2. And as we're betting, a podcast, who wouldn't go back into the future to get the book of, results and become millionaires? So
the almanac.
That's our dream at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. So why not choose the film which would help? We would certainly get a lot of views if we keep hitting as much as Biff does, So
just imagine we managed to get every score of every NFL game right every single week.
I have a question to throw at you off the back of that, though. For all the money that you could make from that ruins all of the enjoyment of the sport. I always thought about it. I was like, "Oh, it'd be great." Like, I'd be like, "Right, can we find the almanac, but for like cricket? Because I'm not going to watch cricket ever. Like, have we got any like hurling or something like that? Whereas if it was something like the NFL or football, like the World Cup or something, I'd be like spoilers. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what happens."
How did England get knocked out this time? Oh, penalty was great. That's a
Southgate.
Bellingham does what?
But yeah, you're right there. Certainly, I've never had a glimpse at Biff's almanac. I'm afraid with my record on Good Teams. Oh, well, actually,
your brain's good. Your fourfold
future episodes. My record was very good. Just our fourfold challenge, which I was terrible at as well. And somebody mentioned Coldplay before. I always saw Michael J. Fox. Well, I didn't watch it, but Michael J. Fox was on stage with Coldplay the other night to help them close down, I'm sure, what was a very rock and roll set at Glastonbury.
He played Fix You with them on guitar. And,
Seems a bit on the nose in hindsight.
Yeah, apparently they could not. So
excellent. Yeah, Joe, you've sort of mentioned kind of your love around Back to the Future. Should I put Joe or shall I put Meg as the pick for this one?
You go for Meg if you want. She'll get some brownie points there.
Excellent. It was a great pick. Yeah, it's a great pick. It was on my list. Sadly, it just didn't make it above The Dark Knight. But yeah, fantastic film. Thoughts on Back to the Future Part 2, gents?
I think it's great, and I like that. I don't agree it's better than the first one, because I think the first one is a miraculous lightning in a bottle movie, like just never to be repeated. Everything just worked. But I love like the revisits to the first one in Back to the Future 2 at the end. I all of those different aspects. I love the whole when you see what they shouted out for what was going to happen in the future, they weren't far off, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, but I mean, I say, let's same with the third one. It's Back to the Future. It's so deeply embedded in our psyche as a generation. It's weirder for someone to say to me that they don't like him, because I don't think they'd hear the end of it from me anyway. If anyone ever told me they didn't like Back to the Future.
So you don't think it's overrated?
Absolutely not. It's underrated. It's underrated by me.
I think it's all, it's been a while, but they go to 2015, don't they? In Back to the Future Part 2, and it's just weird that we're now past that point.
Don't tell Facebook that, because they've gotten it wrong every single year for about 20 years.
But yeah, a great film, a great sequel, and certainly enjoyable. It's weird because the three are quite different. This seems Part 2 is a little bit darker, I think, whereas like the Part 3 is the Wild West. There's a bit more fun. That's like a little bit lighter and a bit more fun.
It's a love story.
Yeah, well, this is great. It's just a little bit darker, but yeah.
It doesn't try and. Sorry, I might be a bit low on my details here. He doesn't try and fuck his mum in 2, does he?
No.
Does that happen?
One of these. You'll hit one. You keep swinging, Byron. You'll hit one.
Part 1 is where his mum's trying to bang him, but he knows.
Oh, okay. So that does happen, though. I'm trying to remember, like, that does happen, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, I've been early and I've been late. I'll get one soon.
But
between Back to the Future and Empire Strikes Back, we're 2 for 2 for incest.
Yeah. I always find it funny, especially like the first film, where his dad doesn't ever think, it's like the cliche everyone mentions, but like my son looks exactly like that kid who came back in high school. Surely there must be something going on here, and he doesn't say a word. But
Back to the Future 4, the paternity test.
Yeah.
You are your own father.
Excellent. Right, Joe, thanks for that. Back to Part 2, great pick for your second one. Byron, back to you. I'm very interested to see where we're going to go now.
I'm buzzing
with Byron. Your pick, the second one, the 7th pick.
Yeah, I really thought this would have been drafted already. Truthfully, I'm stunned it hasn't, and I'm delighted. Genuine classic, and maybe not as important as The Godfather Part 2, but Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Was not what I was thinking of. I was waiting for you to say what I've been waiting for everyone to say for so long.
I have no idea what the obvious pick is at this point. I have no idea. There's a good chance I haven't seen it. So whatever you keep referring to, hopefully you're taking him at this next term, because you're not going to be stealing it from me, I don't think. But yeah, I love Home Alone 2. I don't prefer it to Home Alone 1, but I just love the pairing of them. We watch it every Christmas. Well, we watch the pair of them every Christmas, obviously. And watching Home Alone 2 this last time, I don't know, like it seems to get funnier by the years. Like when he keeps throwing stuff off the roof, it's just there's so many great bits in it, and it continues Home Alone 1 perfectly. It's just again of our era, just pure joyous. I love it so much.
Yeah. Excellent choice. Yeah, again, this one was up there as one of those kind of top echelon ones. It's great fun, isn't it? He's able to just carry on from where the first one does, and just able to bring that the silliness, the fun, a little bit of drama and suspense in it. But yeah, it's just, you can't go wrong watching all until over Christmas, can you?
And I know it sounds obvious, but like I just love like the because like this is kind of the essence of Home Alone, but like the combination of like a child and ultra violence, like in so many ways. I'm sure there's been like mock-ups of it, like where like it's just a horror film, but like because like the baddies get up and stumble around in a funny way, it's a comedy. I just love
Looney
that like,
Tunes.
the position of it. It's so good.
It's live action Looney Tunes. There's
That's a great description.
they get the big lump that grows out of their head, and then they like poke it back in, and then they go on to what is essentially, it's like they're like video games, the Home Alone films. It's like the next level, and they've got to try and beat that level, except it's the bad guys. I think Home Alone 2 is great. It's the exception to the rule where I said I don't really like a sequel which just repeats the first film, because Home Alone is basically beat for beat. Home Alone 2 is beat for beat Home Alone, but it works when you've got, because you know, for all that people want to shit on him, Macaulay Culkin was a really charismatic kid. Daniel Stern is just, you look at him, he's funny looking, he's a funny guy. Joe Pesci's a god. It just works. And then you put it in what I consider to be the greatest city on the planet. It's undeniable.
And we get a top 45 president in there as well.
Oh yeah,
top 46 maybe. Actually, now I forgot we've got another.
Should have been Tim Curry.
I think that would have been a much better place if Tim Curry was president of the United States instead of old Donald. Might happen again sooner than you think. Joe, any thoughts on Home Alone 2, Lost in New York? Was this taken? Taken in our Christmas draft? Yeah.
This was my choice. As I think it's, because I had it on VHS at home, it's one of them where I've watched over and over and over again. It's probably the film me and my partner quote the most, just constantly, most days, just come up, and one of the films I could just, when I watch it, I'll just repeat everything. So, it's one of them weird things where I prefer Home Alone 2 to Home Alone 1, but I don't know if it's one of them things because I watched it so much as a kid that it's just ingrained, and it's that, it's just perfect. Tim Curry, what an actor, what a film. It's it's perfect. It's like up there with one of my favorite Christmas films. Obviously, that's why I chose it there. It's just watch it every year, a couple of times. It's a great choice. It was, but I didn't think it would go this early. I just didn't think Home Alone 2 would go. But I should have, remembered Byron only knows like 3 or 4 films, and Home Alone 2 is one of them. So should have thought about. But amazing.
Excellent. Good pick, you solid board, Byron, so far. Godfather Part 2, Home Alone 2. It's a solid lineup so far.
That was another one with a quick turnaround as well. Like Home Alone was 1990, and then within a year you had Home Alone 2. That's what I mean. When something's funny, just do it quickly. Don't wait 15 years.
Cash in on it for sure. And then they waited for Home Alone 3, and then we don't have to talk about that. I just read there was 6 films in the franchise, which is wild. Yeah.
There was a recent one.
Scarlett Johansson was in one of them as a kid. Was that like her big break? Am I misremembering that?
No, her big break was not the Horse Whisperer.
Right.
It's the Horse Whisperer. That not so much a Christmas film. That one.
Yeah, I wasn't near too far off then.
Like 4 films for cinema and 2 straight to TV ones.
Yeah, and then we had the Netflix one like a year or 2 ago, where they
tried to do right?
Home Sweet Home Alone.
That was it. Yeah, it was
fine. Is that? Am I misremembering that?
Oh, I don't know.
The Irish comedian.
Yeah, she was in it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure I've seen she was in it, and it kind of blew my mind. And on a similar note, sorry, this is off track here. And I apologize if anyone's going to take one of these films, but this isn't. I don't think this film's been released yet. Do you know James Acaster is going to be a Ghostbuster or in Ghostbusters? I don't know if he's going to be a Ghostbuster, but
I've seen it. It's not great.
It's already released. I hadn't even seen it.
Yeah. He's not in it a lot.
Okay.
He very much is James Acaster in the film, which for all it's worth, is actually kind of enjoyable. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I thought that might be as good as it gets. Yeah, it just mentioning Ashlyn B there just reminded me of. Wait, James Acaster's in a Ghostbusters film, and
I love her as well. She's lovely.
She is lovely.
She's lovely.
The lovely Ashlyn B. Yes. Anyway, before I start going too deep on Ashlyn B, phrasing, we should probably move on.
We should. And Ash, you're going to finish off our second round. Are you going to take the film that you were?
Yeah, I'm going to put Byron out of his
Yeah.
misery. The chat's just him going, "What is he talking about? What is this one that's left?" So this was, you guys have had your chance now. You've left it on the table for me, so I'm going to sweep in the film where the director came in and went, "I want to make a sequel to this film," and they went, "What are you going to do What are you going to do?" And then he drew an S at the end and then 2 lines to do dollars, because I'm picking 1986's Aliens. James Cameron's Aliens. A film where, again, it's a shame they never made any more after that. Although we are getting one this year. So hopefully that'll be a good third film. It's set between the Alien and Aliens 2 as well. It's quite similar to Terminator. It's like James Cameron, apart from it being James Cameron, in that you got the first one, which is more of like a straight up horror movie, but then Aliens and Terminator 2 lean way more into the sci-fi action side of things. I just think it's such a visceral film, and the word gets thrown around a lot, and it gets misused quite a lot nowadays, but it's iconic. You've got the "stay away from her, you bitch" moments. You've got the pulse rifles, got the boop, 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 boop. It's all those things that when someone says to you Alien, once you've gone past the Xenomorph and Sigourney Weaver in your head, a lot of the stuff that, comes straight to the forefront of your mind is from Aliens. It's like a near perfect action film.
Yeah, I think this is a real good show. I was kind of hoping I might get it a little bit later on, but yeah, it is fantastic. Good shout. Yeah, I get what you mean in terms of you was expecting maybe one of us to pick it up, but yeah. Byron, have you seen Aliens or any of the Alien film franchise? No,
I've seen Alien, the original one. That's where the alien comes like. I think
that's Alien 3.
Both the 3, Byron.
Fucking hell. It's so humbling. Maybe I've just seen that clip then, because I don't think I've seen Aliens, and I don't think I've seen Aliens 3.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if your first one to go to would have been Alien 3.
I'm sure I've seen Alien. Oh, Aliens where she has Does she have a baby, Alien? And he bursts out the stomach.
That's also Alien 3. So not Sigourney Weaver. So Alien is the one where the guy has the famous scene where the chest burster.
That's it. It's not a baby. It's a chest burst.
It's like a baby.
Ultimately,
you thought a baby popped out the chest in the film.
I mean, I haven't seen it. I was probably like 10 when I seen it. Ultimately, I don't have much knowledge of the Alien series. Is probably the best way to put this.
I like by thinking it was a baby, you just made the subtext text.
It's a woman.
No, because the whole thing's just like the whole thing's like as subtextually is about like rape and giving birth to rapist baby. It's all that horrible shit against the backdrop of this really, really perfect sci-fi movie. But you just removed the sub part of that, and it just became some big baby just popped out. It was like a totally normal childbirth, really, just a little bit higher up. It was a really higher up C-section.
Very brutal C-section, yeah. No anesthetic. Out your pop.
Well, if you've seen that one, you've got to watch the sequel. I feel like the sequel will be more in your lane as well.
It probably is. I'll be adding it to my list, to be fair, along with... I'm looking forward to watching How to Train Your Dragons. I don't know how many there is, but that's definitely on my list now. And Aliens is getting added to it also.
Yeah. I think just what makes this such a good pick, I think this film is a bit of everything, isn't it? It's like it's a great action film, it's a great sci-fi film. It's Ripley as a character is just possibly one of the all-time great cinema characters. I just think it's got all those elements, and that makes it a great pick, and one that we clearly slept on because the 3 of us had 2 opportunities to take it and we didn't.
And I'm happy for it. I'm reaping the benefits of your casuality towards sci-fi horror.
Yeah, it's a great film. Joe, any thoughts on Aliens apart from Byron's misguided ones?
Yeah, it was definitely on my list. It was actually in between that and Back to the Future. And I've only seen it once or twice, and it was only like a couple of years ago when I first watched it. So really enjoyed it, but it's one I couldn't talk about as much. So that's probably why I chose it. But yeah, great film, and like I said, great quotes, great everything about it. So great pick at number 8.
Yeah. I wonder, like, if we somehow the episode of this podcast manages to like stumble across into like some real serious movie fans, and for some reason they decided to play it. I wonder what their thoughts would be on the opening hour so far of the nonsense that three of us have been talking, and some actual relevant stuff from Ash.
Oh, I'll be getting the shit. They'll be like, "You picked How to Train Your Dragon 2 first."
That's fair, actually. Yeah,
and still won the draft.
and still one possibly.
Is it winning if it's default?
The two sweetest words in the English language.
Well, a win's a win, isn't it? Right, Ash. Round 3, you're going to kick off for us. We've just done round 2, so it was The Dark Knight from me, Back to the Future Part 2 from Joe, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York from Byron, and Aliens from yourself. Kicking off the 3rd round with the 9th overall pick in the sequels draft. What are you taking this time, Ash?
So I had like a plan coming into this. It was like, well, I'm not going to just go for like my 4 favorites. I'm going to kind of divvy it up a little bit and get some genre picks in there. And I'm kind of umming and ahhing between these two because I quite literally finished rewatching one of these picks 46 seconds before I logged into this. Should have been working, wasn't working. You know, I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to pick one that again had a rather large impact on me in childhood, and also because so far we've all gone for number 2s. Well, that's a daily occurrence for me, but in the sequences of films, we've all gone for part 2s. So I'm going to pick a part 3, and I'm going to pick Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3: Dream Warriors, which, as the youngest of 3 children, is why I'm so desensitized to horror films, because my mum would go to work in a restaurant at night, and my older brother and sister would look after me, and that's why I have been watching horror films since the age of 5 years old, including, and I think it might have started with Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. And to this day, I think it really informs my own preference for what kind of horror I consume. Like, I've got a real big appreciation for the real, like, visceral, get under your skin horror. Like The Exorcist is phenomenal. Most recently, something like The Witch, or I'll just stick with The Witch because my mind's gone blank and my brain keeps saying Hereditary, but I don't like Hereditary, so I'm just gonna get off of that thing. But I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 really was the turning point in that series where Freddy kind of got a bit laughable. And that's where the quips started to come in, and it got to be more of a horror comedy, which kind of is, yeah, as I say, it informed the stuff that I really, really enjoy. If you give me the opportunity between watching a really nasty, visceral horror movie or Tremors, I'm just going to watch Tremors. Yeah. And it's the same thing with Elm Street 3. I'd rather, you know, watch Freddy Krueger smash a TV over a girl's head and say, "Welcome to primetime, bitch," than I would be like scared out of my wits. I think it's just where I lean towards comedy. It's why Evil Dead is my absolute favorite series. But I decided, rather than be a cliche, I wasn't going to draft any of those ones. It's because I just think laughs and gore together is a really, really great combo.
Yeah, that is a good shout. I think I get lost sometimes with like the you know, when these series are quite big, aren't they? Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah. and
that's, they got year on year as well. So within a year, you were getting the sequel.
Yeah, and Friday the 13th, I couldn't have lost the name. There's just so many that I get lost in between them and remember which ones I've seen, which ones I've not. But I like that part. I think that's a great part. It's that balance of comedy and horror, I think, is the sweet spot. I guess not to everyone's taste, but I think that's the sweet spot. Because I'm not a big horror fan, but element mixed with comedy, you can get me sat down and watching that. So yeah, a great pick, a great villain, I guess. Or villain's the right word, probably not. Freddy Krueger, but yeah, I think pretty solid. I don't know at what point does it, or does it ever tail off the Nightmare on Elm Street series? Or?
Oh yeah, I mean, it tailed off with part 2. It was kind of like you had part 1, which is like an absolutely phenomenal horror classic, and then part 2, which is a really phenomenal, like, gay classic. again, that was one of those ones where subtext just became text with that one. I mean, it's literally Freddy comes out of the boy is coming out of someone else. It's there's no room for subtlety in that one. But then you got part 3, which is really great, and it's as a series, it's very, very up and down. There's really great moments. A shout out to New Nightmare, which is the last one before they did a horrible remake, where that was where it got really meta. It was actually quite ahead of its time, where you had Freddy Krueger in the real world going after the people who starred in the film. It was all very meta, very pre-Scream, and then obviously Wes Craven then made Scream after that as a further commentary on meta horror cinema. It's probably like I think Evil Dead for me, like Evil Dead's got 5 fantastic films and a TV show, which is also fantastic. Whereas Nightmare, but and that's why it's my favorite. But Nightmare on Elm Street's not far behind, but it's weird because there is like 8 of them, but only maybe 3 or 4 are good.
Okay, cool, good stuff. Byron, Joe, any thought? Remember, I don't know, Joe, a little bit younger than was Nightmare on Elm Street ever come your way?
Yeah, I've seen it. I think I watched it a few years back because it's always that funny scene at the end where she stood outside and then she gets dragged into the tiniest window. You can tell it's like it's a doll. I thought it was really, and surprisingly, I've actually seen 3 when I was young. It was one of them where, again, I didn't have Sky or anything, so you're just watching Channel 5 or 4 late at night, and then suddenly I'm watching this Nightmare on Elm Street. I think I would have been like 10 or 11, and I remember the TV falling on the head. I remember like being strung up with like ligaments and stuff. And I just remember like watching that way too young, late on the night. So it was when you were describing it, I was like, have I seen that? And then I was looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, of course I've seen it. It was definitely the TV on the head when you said that. I was like, yep, I've seen that. But yeah, I remember it being fun. But obviously way too young, so you laid there saying, should I go to sleep? Because if I sleep, he'll come for me. But it means also it's morning and you're just like going back and forth. How do I get out of this nightmare? But yeah, it was a good film. I remember.
To be fair, if you're younger than us, you experienced it in basically the same way that we all did anyway, which is like that's usually the entry. I mean, obviously, because the first one came out in 1982. So for most people, part 3 actually was the entry point for them, because it was like a late night staple. It was getting repeated a lot, and that was the first one that I saw. I saw 3 before I saw 1. I had to kind of work my way back. And I think it is because it's got so many of those particular scenes. I mean, that part really unsettled me as a kid. The ligaments, the using him as a marionette. I found that really, really unsettling. That was the part where I was like, it's not funny anymore. No, I don't like that. That's not nice at all.
And like I said, he's the worst horror guy because, all the other ones you think, just go to sleep and it'll be fine. That one, if you go to sleep, then that's when he comes for you. So there's like no way out of like dealing with that. Because I remember being young watching them kind of films and just assuming that someone's behind, the bathroom curtain, all that kind of just checking the doors. But yeah, he was not the fun one to watch when you were way too young.
What an insight into Joe's childhood we've just had there. Joe, it's all okay. It's okay.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
You don't have to move to Canada to get away from it. It's fine.
Because I sleep out here too.
Excellent. Right. Ash, thank you very much for that. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors is your 3rd selection. Byron, we're back to you. I assume that didn't just come off your list there, Byron. You weren't like, damn, that's what I was going to be taking next.
Byron only likes the song. He only likes the song Dream Warriors by Dokken.
That's what above my head of the film is. So yeah, I don't know if this is left field or not. I'm glad it hasn't been taken though. One of my favorite, the first 2 certainly 2 of my favorite films of all time. This is a great sequel. Wonderful chemistry between the 2 leads. Before Sunset, Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy, just a wonderful romantic film. I'm getting a book waved at me. So I'm guessing Ash actually likes this film.
It was my next pick. Yeah. It was my next pick, you son of a bitch.
I was just going to get it there, last pick of the draft. Oh, no.
Please. Yeah, I love
of all the people I thought who was going to nick Richard Linklater's Before Sunset, Byron, it was fucking not you.
Byron's been reeling us in. He's actually watched all these movies. He's playing the long game.
Yeah, I've never missed a film in my life. Yeah, I just love it. I think it's so sincere. It's so well obviously I say well cast, but like the two leads are just so perfect. It's it's sincere. I say again, but it's just really nice.
It's deeply romantic as well. Like
Yeah, it's
without
lovely.
seeming like cinema romance, it's a deeply romantic movie.
Yeah.
Is that
So,
your
yeah.
favorite of the three as well?
Yeah, I
Before-
think so. Yeah, the first two are definitely my favorites. Just 'cause I've seen them much more.
And also the third one's kind of grim because it's almost like they're on. It's a bit more real. The romance is kind of gone in
Yeah,
so
it's
much in the
real.
third
Yeah,
one. It's a bit more like here's what a marriage
actually,
usually ends up being. Whereas the first two, you kind of like, and you're swept up in. Where are they in the second one again? They're in Paris in the second one. Yeah, Paris in the second one, Vienna in the first one. Yeah. Oh, you son of a bitch! I can't. I'm so fucking certain. I'll leave that one till last because no one's going to take it.
I'm so pleased that it's impacted somebody. And yeah, and there was like I think it was like nearly 10 years between the first and the second as well. So like, unlike a comedy where you need to strike fast, like I think the kind of like anticipation, the waiting of it helped and the fact it hit on it as well. Like, it's all well and good having the anticipation. If you don't hit on it, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you had all that time to wait and build up to it, and then it smashed it. So
you filled in your own gaps in your mind as well. It's like, where would they be
Yeah.
now? And it's the same with the third one. You kind of like, okay, well, now this has happened. What's going to happen in the third one? So you start to fill in those gaps mentally, and then usually Richard Linklater ends up just going in the completely opposite direction to what you're expecting. But it's definitely a film with probably the most romantic last bit of dialogue ever. So, baby, you're going to miss that plane. Goddamn.
This is a great film. I didn't necessarily think it was what it was going to be taken. I certainly, again, same as you, I did not think it was going to be taken by you, Byron, given how we set all this and stuff like this. But this is a great selection. Your board is looking extremely strong here. I wouldn't discredit yourself from winning at this point, Byron. You're looking pretty good. But yeah, what a selection. What a fantastic film.
I'm both fuming and delighted.
Yeah.
Equal parts.
Excellent. Yeah, actually, gonna have a bit of a think now. What he's going to take off? If I was to say that was his winning moment at the end there, but you've taken it away from him, Byron. Excellent work. Anything else to add on before sunset? Sorry, I just needed to quickly run, so I might have missed a little bit. But yeah, anything else to add? No, actually, it's just a great pick. Well done, Byron. Great value, I think, in the third round at 10th overall.
Cheers.
Yeah, good stuff. Joe, we're back to you. Pick number 11.
Yeah. There's a few films where I don't know if they're classed as sequels or not, so I'm going to stay with it. And I think I'm going to choose something which, just to go a bit different, let's go for animation again. It's not being picked. Which one do I choose? I'll go for the two. I'm going to choose Toy Story 2 and get it out there. I think, again, it's a classic. Well, there's 4 now, but I think every film is just amazing. And, the second one introducing new characters and how do they build it from the first one. And it's one of them films where even when you watch it now, it's like in the 90s, like it's still incredible how they made that back then. I still think story as a whole and the animation and everything is just incredible. And is Toy Story 2 my favorite? I'll have to rewatch them again. It's all like mixed into one, but yeah, Toy Story 2, that is my choice. And I didn't think it would last this long, to be honest. So yeah, I'll take that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I thought I'm interested in how kind of people view the Toy Stories. I thought one might have gone, not as in one, but one of the sequels might have gone at this point. But yeah, two's good. I think they're all very good films, aren't they? And again, just another mix of very much, I guess, similar to How to Train Your Dragon, where there's that elements kids film, but people can enjoy. Adults can enjoy it. It's well written, parts are well played as well. And yeah, just absolute staples, I think, of that. And kind of I think it's getting to the point of, I don't know, I assume there'll probably be more, but like, you just got to know when to stop with this because you don't want to start ruining it.
I thought they did with part 4. I really did not like part 4 at all. I think 1 to 3 is an absolutely wonderful trilogy. I think 1's my favorite because this may be controversial. I think the one where they're chasing the car on the RC remote control car. That's up there with like the trench run in Star Wars for me. It's just such a fucking great sequence, and it's just so exciting to watch. I don't think the other one's quite captured that, but yeah, 2 is absolutely heartbreaking because you've got Jessie's song in there as well. When you find out how she got split from her owner, and then you've got part 3 where they nearly all die in a furnace. Which I don't know if you've seen that clip. There's the guy who edits the end of the film out, and his mum wants to see it for the first time, and he edits the ending out so it ends with basically fades to black with them facing the fire, and she's like, "No, they can't end it that way." And you can see him like holding the camera's shaking because he's like trying to hold in this laughter.
That's excellent. Yeah,
yeah, they get quite tragic, those films. But yeah. And then part 4, I thought ending it on 3 was the right thing to do. 4 felt like a really superfluous footnote.
Yeah, but the temptation when you're going to make, I don't know how much 4 took, but probably somewhere close to $1 billion, I imagine.
Well, exactly. I mean, look at Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2's made an absolute mint in a time where films aren't making money at the cinema. I've not seen it yet, but it's because I think Inside Out 1 is borderline perfect, and I'm almost hesitant to. Again, Toy Story 4 did a number on me. That's why I'm very hesitant with the sequels now.
Oh, well, hopefully this process of drafting the sequels might get you back to it. Like, this might be some therapy. I don't know, talking it out in the form of a draft on an NFL show. Cool. Any other additions to Toy Story 2? I think it's a great one. It's probably not my favorite. I think probably 3's. I think 3 is probably my favorite. I think, but still a great film.
Yeah, great series. I think 3 is probably my favorite as well, but 3 was on my long list, certainly.
Oh, excellent. We'll see if he still takes it.
I had 3 on my long list as well.
Yeah, again, same here. It's a great film. Excellent, Joe. We're down. We are to me. Pick number 12 for me. I just need to make sure I'm ready. Again, this might be one that, again, probably this is more just a personal favorite. There are other ones on there, and still, I think some big hitters. But I'm going to take this one as it's just a particular favorite of mine. I'm going to take The Colour of Money as my third round pick, and to end the third round. So Paul Newman back as Fast Eddie after The Hustler, takes on his protege Tom Cruise. It's brilliant. It's just a fantastic film. Colour of Money, and it's one of those films where it sits as a standalone film and is a sequel as well. I can't think of another example. There have been other movies that are an example of that, where kind of you can just watch The Colour of Money on its own and it's a great film. But obviously, if you watch The Hustler as well, Colour of Money together, fantastic. Love Paul Newman as well. Paul Newman, what a great actor.
It's a film that's very good at filling in the gaps that you need to know if you've not seen The Hustler, and it does it organically. There's no like exposition dump. It's all just character moments you pick up throughout it. It wasn't even remotely on my list, and I'm just sat here going, why the fuck was this not on my list? Because The Colour of Money is phenomenal. It's such a great film.
Yeah, it's great. Look, you can't go Scorsese, Newman, Cruise, brilliant. And 2 hours
soundtrack.
Of great cinema, and the soundtrack's awesome. Yeah.
It's this pure Scorsese soundtrack, and the fact that it's Scorsese making a sequel to a film that he had no involvement in as well. There's obviously like a testament there that he's like, I've got this inkling of an idea, and maybe I shouldn't touch this, but fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to bring one of the hottest young stars along for the ride with me.
It's fantastic. I think it's 25 years after, I think, The Hustler's early 60s.
Yeah. Hustler's, I think, 60. Yeah, it's got to be around that, yeah.
So it's full 25 years later. But yeah, it's tremendous. And Byron definitely should be added if you've not seen it. It should be one to be added to your list to watch. It is absolutely incredible.
Did you see Colour of Money first? Or The Hustler?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I'd seen
because I didn't know it was a sequel for 10, 15 years until I got the internet. Basically, I didn't know it was a sequel.
Yeah. So I watched it, and then I think actually from seeing The Colour of Money and then finding out about The Hustler and then watching it, and then rewatching The Colour of Money, I think it makes it better. To then go, rewatch it and then have the gaps filled, as you mentioned. But yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, just Paul Newman and Tom Cruise going around hustling their way through the pool halls trying to get to Atlantic City is brilliant. Yeah, quite a simple premise, I think as well. But yeah, it's just a great film. Might be my favourite Scorsese film, possibly.
Ooh, that's a shout.
And there are some great ones, of course, some absolutely fantastic ones. But and this one doesn't get mentioned a lot in like great Scorsese films as well.
It's having a resurgence. It's having a big resurgence over the last 3 or 4 years. I think because Scorsese, we're all really panicking that he's reaching the end, not of his career, like of his life. People are revisiting the films that because as I said, we've all watched Goodfellas 101 times and stuff like that. People are going further back now and stuff like After Hours, Color of Money. They're all getting a revisit, and people are kind of realizing that he's been on it, and he's never not been on it. The guy is firing at 100 at all times.
Yeah, I think as well what makes kind of Color of Money a little bit special. I think it's Paul Newman's only Oscar as well. That he won,
which is disgraceful.
Yeah, that he wins for the Color of Money, not however many other potential.
Oh no, he should have won for the Color of Money, but he should also have won for fucking Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He should have won Best Supporting for Road to Perdition, which has like another one of the great final lines ever in it. The guy was an absolute hero.
Yeah, it's but yeah, Color of Money. It's very one of my favorite films, and as a result, one of I think the greatest sequels of all time. Oof. Where do I go now? Because I'm going to kick off the 4th round. So just a quick summary of the 3rd round. Ash Had a Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, Byron Before Sunset, Joe with Toy Story 2, and then me with The Color of Money. I'm going to go for there's a lot left, and I'm going to go with, again, another big film franchise, I guess. I'm going to go with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade at pick number 13. Yeah. Again, we've talked about kind of great combos for a second there, like Newman and Cruise. Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. Fantastic. What a great combination. What a great combination. And again, it'd be interesting to hear takes on kind of the Indiana Jones, and we'll just talk about 3. We don't need to talk about any more than that. Indiana Jones film.
It's a shame they've never made any more after 3.
I think this was just the perfect way to be. You just didn't need to even consider making another one. This is a great way to finish it off. A great trilogy. I don't care for Temple of Doom as much, but that's good. It's all right, but
it's a much darker. It's quite like the stepchild of that trilogy.
Yeah, it's like it very much follows how we were talking about Back to the Future earlier as well, in kind of that path where it's kind of there's a little bit of more light relief in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade for sure. But yeah, I think just a great movie, and any movie where the Nazis are the bad guys is a pretty good film, I guess, right?
That silence made us all seem like Nazi apologists. I thought you'd let
exactly. That was on you, not me. I was on the right side of that.
There's Nazis. I'm not.
Oh no, I need to delete a banner. Sorry.
We did not see that coming, etc.
I'm trying to
stealing one of my co-host jokes that he uses for every Nazi film on Letterboxd.
Any other thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? How happy is that? I think that's a solid 4th round pick. I'm happy to finish on that.
I've never seen an Indiana Jones film, so I have no comment.
Wow. You're in for a treat.
Yeah, I know. Rob? I knew it was coming. I knew he was going to say that.
I'm choosing to frame it in a positive way, and not like horrified that you've not seen it, but also happy for the fact that you've got it coming.
Yeah,
not in that way. You've got it coming.
How dare you?
But now you get to experience these for the first time, which is something I'm very, very jealous. I'm very envious that you get to experience these for the first time. unless you've missed the boat on like from a maturity point of view, in which case I'm really sorry for you.
I doubt it. There's not much that's past my maturity level, so.
No, I mean, The Last Crusade. I mean, Raiders is my favorite, and that's because I think it's one of my all-time favorite films. Period. But I think The Last Crusade it's got so much charm, and I guess one of the rare films where I got to see it opening night at the cinema because it was my next door neighbor's birthday, so they took us to go and see it to Baker Street Odeon, and it's just that experience is firmly just embedded in my brain. I don't remember anything important, but I'll absolutely tell you where I sat in 1989 to watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade at Baker Street Odeon.
Yeah,
it's not even there anymore.
Oh no, yeah, 1989. Yeah, bloody hell. I think I was 4 months old when this came out.
Oh wow. And I just immediately was the guy who drank from the wrong cup and just burst into dust as you said that.
It's a tremendous film. Very happy.
Great choice. I was curious if someone was going to go Temple of Doom, and because technically that's a prequel, so I was wondering if you would go there. So I was wondering if there's going to be any arguments about that. But yeah, no, great choice is definitely on my list. It's again a great trilogy, which are like my shaped our childhoods.
I would have bit my lip on the whole prequel sequel thing. Just because I'm a guest, so I'm like, you don't need to hear that from this. You don't need to hear all that bullshit.
No, Joe would have been straight on it. Like he'd have been calling my first person out.
Yeah, that's what me and Byron are here for, just to argue Paul's points.
Yeah. So I'm happy. I think I've done okay. Let's move on. Joe, we're back to you. Let's see.
Yeah.
Pick number 14. Your final.
Yeah, I might go a little bit left field here. A kid growing up in the 90s, especially being a boy, obviously, girls could love these films, but I was all about action films and, the Arnie films, Sylvester Stallone. That's all I used to watch, and, I love all that kind of stuff. And there's one, I would say it's fairly modern, which like blew me away when I first watched it. And I think the first one's definitely better, but I actually rewatched them yesterday just to see if I still love them, and I still do. And I'm going to go with The Raid 2.
What the fuck? That was my final pick.
Twice.
I'm applauding though. I'm applauding. I did all these left field picks, and Byron and Joe have just fucked me on them. but this time at least it was consensual and it was nice. Like it was sensual because I agree, and I'm just glad that they're on the board.
Yeah, and it's just like both of them are just, if you like any kind of action, they're probably my favorite action films. But I just remember being blown away by the sequence, the choreography, everything about it. It's they're both incredible, and rewatched it again yesterday. So I was hoping it would still be there in the latter rounds because, I think it's both of them are perfection in terms of storytelling and action scenes and everything above. Just incredible.
It's a phenomenal two films. I think the fact that we spoke about The Godfather Part 2, The Raid 2 shares a lot of DNA with it because whereas the first film is very much like a stripped back, die hard kind of, it's all like, again, whereas I said before, it's like a video game. You're at the bottom of the building, you've got to get to the tops of the building and beat the boss. The second film, there's a lot more pathos behind it. There's a lot more meat on the bones. But then there's also this massive step up in the action sequences as well. Like the car chase sequence, which I don't know if you've had a chance to see the behind the scenes for, is bonkers because they basically made the cameraman a car seat, not made him want to sit in. I mean, they made him a car seat. He's wearing the seat covers so that when they're passing the camera between cars, you can't see that it's a person. Like just real on the fly stuff like that. And then I think the fight in the kitchen between Rama and the guy's name that escapes me, that is god tier, absolute god tier action cinema.
Yeah, and just how the film works, like watching it again, is things which I like forgot about and watching it, where they're like running around the corner and the camera like flips to how he like where the person's running to, so it's not just like one shot, but it's just how he keeps turning. Someone gets flipped over and the camera like flips at the same time, and it's just how it all works. It's just Yeah.
Been
If
ripped
anyone's
off
not,
so many times.
yeah,
He's been ripped off so many times as a result
Yeah.
now.
yeah. If anyone's not seen either both, I would definitely recommend just giving them a go. It's available. I watched it on Plex for free. If anyone's got that, if you got that out there, Byron, in the US of A, it's available there. So definitely recommend it.
It's a film where every action sequence would be the best action sequence in someone else's film, and this one just keeps topping itself.
I like that applied to things like Before Sunset. It's like this would be the best action sequence in Before Sunset. I haven't seen the Raid 2,
Yeah.
but I imagine the action sequences are a little different to Before Sunset.
Yeah,
Little
watch
bit.
out, Joe. Yeah, and like I say, sniped Ash again.
I
Great
was
work.
Joe, have you seen The Night Comes for Us yet?
No, not seeing that yet.
Oh, you're in for a treat. So it's on Netflix. It's friends of Gareth Evans who made The Raid and The Raid 2. So if you're looking for like a real visceral action film, and it's also got the guy who plays Rama is the bad guy in it rather than being the good guy. That film was the one where I was sat there giggling with laughter at how fucking gnarly it was. My wife came in with her dinner and within 3 minutes just walked straight out. She was like, no, I'm not watching that. Absolutely not. That's the only film which I think has come close to The Raid and The Raid 2 for like modern action cinema. Like, I've got a lot of time for the John Wick sequels. I don't really like John Wick 1, weirdly, for reasons. But that's the only one where I think like that's come anywhere close to The Raid 1 and 2. So I wanted to throw out that recommendation to you because yeah, you're in for a treat when you cue that bad boy up.
Yeah, definitely. It's just definitely stick that on.
I didn't realise until right at this moment that the Gareth Evans also made a make because it's still on Gangs of London on Sky.
Yep.
Which makes sense, actually. A lot of the action in that. Yeah.
Yeah, he directed the first 2 episodes. So he came up with the concept of it, and then he directed the first 2 episodes. I think he stepped away after series 1 rather. But yeah, it's kind of was like it's his whole story is really interesting. The fact that this guy was from the valleys in Wales, who then moved over to Indonesia, got married, discovered that there was this like martial arts movement, this Pencak Silat, and then was like, yeah, cool, I'm just going to start making films, and that's the discipline we'll use. And yeah, they're going to be some of the greatest action films of all time, as you do.
Oh yeah, excellent. Good
I
stuff,
just moved to Southend and just put on 4 stone. So it's like
excellent. Well, we're glad because we've got a couple of great films off the back of it. Byron, finish off your board. That's currently The Godfather Part 2, Home Alone 2, and Before Sunset. What are you potentially might snipe Ash the third time here, which would be...
I'm scrambling now because I was so certain that Raid 2 weren't going to get picked.
I'd be very surprised if I snipe you here, I must say. This is a real personal pick, emotional pick, nostalgic pick. I'm just sitting with my mum watching this and both of us crying watching it as a kid. Well, I was a kid, she was not. Short Circuit 2. Johnny 5 is alive.
Yep.
A pure banger of our era as children. It's got
less so the brown face.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention all the negatives, but
it's the only negative though. To be fair,
yeah, it's just such again of our era, just so fun and a bit like I haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon, but like I just kind of have that same emotion of around Johnny 5. I think is what you're talking about with the dragons. Just like it's so pure, so innocent, and like when he again spoiler alert, whatever, but like when he dies and it's just like, oh my god, no, Johnny, how dare you? Like this, like it's breaking me, and yeah, obviously it all comes out in the end, but I just love it. It's so, like I say, nostalgic to me, and I don't know if it's an all-time classic of a sequel, but I really wanted to leave the draft with it because it reminds me of being little and watching films with my mum. So yeah,
it's actually, you've got a frame of reference now for how I felt about How to Train Your Dragon 2, because the similar moment is I actually had the similar reaction in How to Train Your Dragon 2 as I did as a kid watching Short Circuit 2, when it's that, now Buster, I'm pissed off, and then I Need a Hero kicks in, and you're like, Oh yeah,
Here we go.
yeah, pride. I'm so proud of you, Johnny. Kick his
Yes.
ass.
Perfect.
Yeah, great. You know, I didn't even think. It just didn't even come to mind. Yeah, what a great film this is. Yeah, Short Circuit 2, incredible. What a 4 you've got there, Byron.
Cheers. Yeah, it's not bad. I'd sit and watch them all again.
Yeah. I think you've done well there. I think maybe you just kind of you suckered us all in. I think with I don't really know any films, blah 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 blah, and then you've just produced that board.
Even though he's just got the greatest hit record of films. He's only seen like 16 films, but like 14 of them are near perfect.
Doesn't know any of the references,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just got the films lined up.
All
just
the
very
shit
picky.
I've had to watch for 42 years, and you're there, you're like, oh yeah, I've just accidentally watched only the creme de la creme.
Well, should be pleased, Byron. You've done well. Anything to add on Short Circuit 2?
That's just lovely. It's just a really lovely film.
It is a great film, yeah. It is, yeah. Makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Ash, yeah, hopefully we've bought you enough time to find your fourth.
I've got loads written down, but I'm just kind of trapped in indecision now because I'm like, oh shit.
We've got some time. I'll go over what we've got.
That was
Yeah, the Irrelevant sequel then. Not quite Mr. Irrelevant, but the Irrelevant sequel, as it's the last pick of the draft. Yeah, we've had in this round, we've had Short Circuit 2, The Raid 2, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And to finish off round 4, Ash, what have you got for us?
Right. Do you know what? I'm going to, considering the fact that you've invited me on and I've got this podcast and it's about 90s movies, I might as well pick a 90s movie. And I personally think it's the best of the series. It's Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which
Nice.
I think is a wonderful film. And we're talking about films going dark. I mean, it kills its two heroes and sends them to hell. And that film scared the shit out of me when I was like, all these horror films that I'd seen between like the age of 5 and 10 and whatever it was. The grandmother trying to kiss Bill in hell scared me more than any of those horror films. To this day, really gives me the willies. The creepy Easter Bunny, but then again, spoiler for a 30-year-old film. Ending with Kiss, God Gave Rock and Roll to You. It's just such a great time. There's so many great moments. There's so many great elements to it. You've got the weird alien naked robot station. You've got oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. William Sadler as Death, which is like one of the most fun performances. This guy, there's this sequel to this stoner movie about them going back in time, and they're making references to the Seventh Seal with Death. I've very much gone with my heart on this one. There were better films on my list, but this had such a profound impact on me. And again, it was one of the few films I got to see in the cinema. Like around that time. This time it was Odeon Swiss Cottage. But I still watch it to this day, and I was really dreading the third Bill and Ted film because of that big gap being burnt, and it's nowhere near as good as the first and the second film, but I still really, really loved it. There's just something about these characters and the people who play them. I'm just have a very big emotional attachment to them.
No, excellent. Well, again, this is one I just didn't even think about and should have done. Yeah, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Yeah. A couple of great films, I think, anyway. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, just a couple of cracking films.
Yeah.
A little bit weird seeing like Keanu Reeves in that role now after all these years. I don't know. It just feels.
It must be so weird. You've got like whole generations who only know him as like Neo and John Wick, and you go back and he's like,
It's awesome.
We got your keys, dude.
It is a great film. I think a nice one to finish. And I think probably what works well, the draft picks that are like personal and that people are really attached to, I think work quite well. And that's very much the case here. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey to finish us off. Byron, Joe, what do you think of that one?
Seen this.
Hey!
Really enjoyed it, to be fair. I did put in the chat, like, it reminds me, I presume this is common again for everyone of our age, but like this and Wayne's World are like kind of like synced in the same place in my heart, really, as like bros of that era. And yeah, it just I really enjoyed it. It was on my long list as well, this one. So yeah, great pick for the last pick.
This same with Wayne's World. They're just devoid of cynicism.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about something being earnest.
You don't get enough of it.
We don't really have much of it nowadays. Everything has to, especially with comedies, everything now has to
layered. And...
Yes, even has to be snarky. Everything has to be an element of snark, an element of looking down your nose at something. I miss sincerity. I miss earnestness.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It's very pure. Great characters. Yeah, what a cracking film. Great one to finish on. Joe, anything to add to Bill and Ted?
No, great choice. Yes, seen them both. And actually, so when we came to Canada, we did a party. We had to dress up as famous Canadians, and I came as Keanu Reeves and Bill and Ted. So just a fun fact there.
Nice.
Thanks for that, Joe. Really helps us with this draft. But excellent.
You're welcome.
Bogus journey. Excellent. Any real obvious honourable mentions? Anything that we missed that maybe should have gone?
I mean, I've got. If we like go modern, I mean, like I think John Wick 4 is amazing, and really funny, and it's basically like a Charlie Chaplin film, but if Charlie Chaplin was really good with a gun. And I was really tempted to do Mission Impossible Fallout. I think I think that is a really tremendous series of action films that only ever seems to get better until the last one. I like the last one, but I need to see what the second half of that film is going to be before I make a decision on where it sits in the pantheon. But I think Fallout's amazing. I did want to give a shout because I don't want to sit here and just reel off a load and then you guys have none to talk about. And Joe, you mentioned it earlier. I wanted to like give a shout out to like spiritual sequels, films that aren't direct sequels, but you can tell they're made in that, usually by the same filmmakers, or there's very much like a continuation of the vibe. So I mentioned Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid earlier on, The Sting. So you've kind of got that spiritual follow-up. It was George Roy Hill again, bringing back Newman and Redford together, and this time bringing on Robert Shaw, star of my all-time favorite movie, Jaws. The fact that I didn't draft any of those sequels says everything you need to know. Hot Fuzz, spiritual sequel to Shaun of the Dead, and middle part of the Cornetto trilogy. Yeah. And then one that I really, really loved, and I thought I better get it in there because fuck you, Byron, again for taking Before Sunset. I just wanted to get a Richard Linklater film in there. My second all-time favorite film is Dazed and Confused. And then they released, Richard Linklater made a spiritual sequel, Everybody Wants Some, which was set in the 80s, which I absolutely loved. And it's funny that, we're nearly a decade since that came out, and only now Glenn Powell is being pushed as the next big thing. And I called it like Babe Ruth from the stands. I watched Into the Stands. I watched Everybody Wants Some, and I went, that guy's going to be a star. It took a while, but he's there now. Off of the back of another honorable mention, Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, Top Maverick. I thought that one might have gone, but
I think that's an example of a film that is significantly better than its original.
It is really, really good. And I wasn't necessarily a massive Top Gun fan, but it was a big release when it came out. And yeah, it was really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So yeah, Top Gun Maverick I thought might have gone. I've got a couple. Rocky 2.
I had Rocky 4.
Yeah, Rocky 4. Yeah. No, I was torn between the two.
Rocky 2's better. Rocky 2 is way better. Rocky 4 is
as the best
traditional standards. Yeah, but by traditional standards, it's not a good film. It's 88% montage. But it's also, me and my brother didn't really get along growing up, and it was the only film that we could both sit there without tearing strips of each other. The irony being it being a fighting film. And I actually, when I got married, when we left, after they did when I pronounce you man and wife, we left the church to Hearts on Fire from Rocky 4.
Oh, nice.
I didn't tell my brother either, so he was there, and all he heard was boom, 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 and his face, he just went.
Good stuff. A couple of us, I have a lot, but I won't run through them all. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think for me, part of the Dollars trilogy. Oh, it's okay. Good job. It was on the mention.
I've never seen it.
Seen it? Oh, any of them?
No, I've got them all to watch, but they're those things where I just can't. Like similar with gangster films, Western films are something I've been spending my whole life getting around to, and it's just the length of them is kind of like same with like Lawrence of Arabia. I've never seen it. I know weirdly what I want to do is I want to wait for a cinema to show them, so then I know that I'm not going to be distracted by my phone or football results or anything like that. I could just sit there and take it in how it's supposed to be taken in.
Yeah, I think this is probably one again that's got kind of love over time, I think. But yeah, kind of the best of the spaghetti westerns as they were. But yeah, it's a tremendous film. The Man with No Name, Clint Eastwood, it's just tremendous. Yeah, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And personal one, sentimental favourite of mine, D2, The Mighty Ducks. The second
great show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, that wasn't on my list, but I love that show.
I had it on a long list because I like the whole trilogy.
Ooh, yeah, they're great. They are great films. But yeah, I think D2 over the third one, I think. But yeah, it's brilliant.
The charity podathon I was on over the weekend, they were doing some auctions. So like it's a fantasy football thing, but the theme this year is movies. I'm in the Mufasa division just because I wanted something I could put Charlie in my avatar of, which you can see when I stop my camera there. So anyway, they were auctioning off sports jerseys, and one of them is a Charlie Conway Ducks jersey signed by Joshua Jackson.
I saw that on your Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't actually end up bidding on it because my wife would have yelled at me. But
I was going to say they sell like Mighty Ducks jerseys here in Canada as well in a lot of the sports stores. They do a lot like the films. They'll like a Bobby Boucher jersey you can buy and all sorts of that kind of stuff.
So cool.
I mean, when they talk about films being iconic, how many films can realistically say that they spawned an actual NHL team off of the back of it?
And it's coming back, by the way, the logo, because the Anaheim changed the logo, and this year they're bringing it back, probably because they realise they're probably losing so much money. Well,
it's the 2020s. Everything from the 90s is coming back. So.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. I've got a few shouts, if that's all right.
Yeah,
I want to shout the newer Jumanjis surprised me how good they were, because I was like, these are going to be terrible. The original Jumanji was personal favourite, a great film, and the newer ones actually surprised me how they did it and how the concept. I'll give Shrek 2 a shout out. Desperado. Ace Ventura when Nature.
Really great shout. Great shout.
Ace Ventura When Nature Calls is so much better than the first one, and again, it's a childhood classic where I've watched over and over and over again. And
I just introduced that to my kid.
Yeah.
So he's 4. We've got this thing where I'm just going to go off a little bit because I know we're short on time, but I've started because he's turning 5 in October. But we've started doing Sunday night movie club where he'll have his dinner a little bit earlier, have his bath, get into his pajamas, and he'll come and get up into our bed, and I'll put on a film where he's maybe a bit too young for it, but sometimes it's clicking. But his whole thing is he loves animals, he adores animals, everything must have animals in. So we've watched Rampage with The Rock, which he lasted until the last 10 minutes, which he liked. Again, massive monkey winner. Transformers Rise of the Beasts, George of the Jungle, but then Jumanji is his absolute favorite one. But we put on Ace Ventura When Nature Calls last weekend, and my wife was just staring at me in horror as I was just mouthing along to the entire film, because it's just muscle memory, because it was one of the VHSs I had that I just wore down completely. But she looked at me as soon as the film started. It did that. You could take somebody's eye out with that thing. She was like, "How are you doing the affectations and everything?" And she was like, how many times have you seen this? I was like, "Well, I've not seen it in about 20 years." But as Celine Dion said, it's just all coming back to me.
Excellent. Yeah, I love Ace Ventura When Nature Calls. It's a great film. I
don't think it's better than the first one, but I think it's definitely more memorable.
Excellent. Again, I'm going to do I might have a bit of a Byron moment here. Which one's the Dan Marino cameo in? Is
that's
in
the first one?
That's the first one.
Yeah. Laces out, Dan.
And the other two, just Batman Returns, with Dan DeVito and Chris Walken, and The Rescue Down Unders. What a sequel! Who would have thought?
It was Down
Yes, that is a great sequel. That's one that I think is better than the original.
Mhm.
And I think Batman Returns is better than Batman as well. I think Batman Returns is my favorite of the Batman films.
Yeah, another Christmas film. You can watch it whenever as well.
Yeah.
It's the horniest Christmas film, and it's really weirdly horny, that movie. Like, it's really super horny.
It's a great film, Batman Returns. How we're gonna get a Colin Farrell Penguin origin series from HBO. I think it's from HBO.
Again, they keep making it homework.
Yeah,
we don't want homework.
If HBO don't take it down, I'm sure someone will pick it up.
Excellent. We're going to finish on a penguin gag. Brilliant.
Blue ribbons and penguins.
Yeah.
Now you know what your next draft's going to be.
That really does kind of sum us up as a podcast, I think. Yeah, that's our brand for sure. Byron, anyone's on yours list? No, we've covered them all. Excellent. Well, it's time to pick a winner. So, guys, and Ash, if you see the private chat just on the right-hand side, yeah, you've been using it. Excellent. So,
we need to recap what we all taken, yeah?
Yes, we will do that. Don't worry. I know how the show works, Byron. I know how this works. Actually, when we say you just drop the name of the winner, if you winner on the right-hand side in the chat, and hopefully we'll have a winner and no tie. But I'll just run through the board. Ash, you had first pick. You went with How to Train Your Dragon 2, Aliens, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Byron, Godfather Part 2, Home Alone 2, Before Sunset, and Short Circuit 2. Joe, Terminator 2, Back to the Future Part 2, Toy Story 2, and The Raid 2. All the twos for you there, Joe. I went for The Empire Strikes Back, The Dark Knight, The Colour of Money, and Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. If you want to pop the name of your winner in the chat, and we'll see who's come out on top. It is Joe again. Joe, you're the winner. Ash was too nice to us, I think. Ash was. He
had 3 out of 4 of my all-time favorite sequels in The Raid 2, Terminator 2, and Back to the Future 2. Like, I deliberately fucked myself on this one, but it's fine. I just wanted to give a shout out to films that I didn't think would get picked apart, and then you two both came out of nowhere and completely. I should have just stuck to my guns and just gone hard in straight away.
No, to be fair, you give obviously some opportunity for us to talk about some films. Some films, like I say, don't watch them all, but some films maybe we probably definitely wouldn't have talked about, which is cool. And it's not about winning. Like Joe loves to win all the time in these drafts. It's not about winning. It's about the fun of doing them. And we have had a lot of fun. Joe, congratulations on a win again.
Thanks up, Paul. All of us can be winners.
No, you're right there. Ash, before Joe starts.
I'm going to go kick the dog in a minute.
Whoa.
Metaphorically, internet, metaphorically.
That's the kind of thing that'll get us cancelled. Ash, thanks for joining us. You've been a fantastic guest.
Thank you for having me. It's been really fun.
Excellent. And make sure you go give Ash a follow at Ash Digs Films, and also go give X Rental a listen, and go drop them a follow at X Rental YT over on Twitter, and go give the podcast a listen and say Ash. A few specials coming, and then they'll be back in the new year. But make sure you go listen to all the previous episodes as well.
Yeah, got 20 episodes to catch up on. Apologies in advance.
Good stuff. Hey, if people listen to this, then they'll listen to anything, Ash. Don't worry. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week. And the real business of the NFL season, or the upcoming NFL season, does start for us. We start with our division previews. We've got our NFC East preview that will be out next week, so make sure you are following along for that, and you'll get eight weeks in a row of division previews before we get to the start of the NFL season. So as always, go to the Spotify to follow, and you'll be notified of new episodes as they drop. And follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at GTW_GTC. And we'll see you next time.
Let's go Bengals.
Cheers, guys.